Herbert George Wells was an English writer. He wrote dozens of novels, short stories, and works of social commentary, history, satire, biography, and autobiography. The story Time Machine has been adapted from H. G. Wells' story by the same name. A group of men, including the narrator, is listening to the time traveler discuss his theory that the time is the fourth dimension. The time traveler produces a miniature time machine and makes it disappear into thin air. The next week, the guests return to find their host stumble in. Looking disheveled and tired, they sit down after dinner and the time traveler begins his story. It was at 10 o'clock today that the first of all time machines began its career, said the time traveler. I gave it a last tap, tried all the screws again, put one more drop of oil, and sat myself in the saddle. I took the starting lever in one hand and the stopping one in other, pressed the first and almost immediately the second. I seemed to reel. I felt a nightmare sensation of falling. Looking round, I saw the laboratory exactly as before. Had anything happened? Then I noted the clock. A moment before it had stood at a minute or so past 10. Now it was nearly half past 3.
I drew a breath, set my teeth, gripped the starting lever with both hands, and went off with a thud. The laboratory got hazy and went dark. Mrs. Washett came in and walked towards the garden door. I suppose it took her a minute or so to traverse the place, but to me she seemed to shoot across the room like a rocket. I pressed the lever over to its extreme position. The night came, and in another moment came tomorrow. Tomorrow night came back, then day again, faster and faster still. The peculiar sensations that time traveling offers us are excessively unpleasant. As I put on pace, night followed day like the flapping of a black wing. I suppose the laboratory had been destroyed and I had come into the open air. I was already going too fast to be conscious of any moving things. The slowest snail that ever crawled dashed by too fast for me. The twinkling succession of darkness and light was excessively painful to the eye.
The landscape was misty and vague. I was still on the hillside upon which this house now stands. I saw trees growing and changing like puffs of vapor, now brown, now green. They grew, spread, shivered, and passed away. The whole surface of the earth seemed changed, melting and flowing under my eyes. The little hands upon the dials that registered my speed raced round faster and faster, and minute by minute white snow flashed across the world and vanished and was followed by the bright, brief green of spring. With a kind of madness growing upon me, I flung myself into futurity. I saw great and splendid architecture rising about me, more massive than any buildings of our own time. And yet, as it seemed built of glimmer and mist, I saw a richer green flow up the hillside and remain there, without any wintry intermission. Even through the veil of my confusion, the earth seemed very fair.
Suddenly, with a gust of petulance, I resolved to stop forthwith. Like an impatient fool, I lugged over the lever, and I was flung headlong through the air. There was the sound of clap of thunder in my eyes. I may have been stunned for a moment, and I was sitting on soft turf in front of the overset machine. I looked round me. I was on what seemed to be a little lawn in a garden, surrounded by rhododendron bushes, and I noticed that their mauve and purple blossoms were dropping in a shower under the beating of hailstones. In a moment I was wet to the skin. I stood up and looked round me. A colossal figure which seemed to be carved in some white stone loomed indistinctly beyond the rhododendrons through the hazy downpour. As the columns of hail grew thinner, I saw the white figure more distinctly. It was very large, for a silver birch tree touched its shoulder. It was of white marble, in shape of something like a winged sphinx. But the wings, instead of being carried vertically at the sides, were spread so that it seemed to be hover. It chanced that the face was towards me. The sightless eyes, seemed to watch me. There was the faint shadow of a smile on the lips. I stood looking at it for a half minute, perhaps, or half an hour. It seemed to advance and to recede as the hail dropped before it denser or thinner. At last I tore my eyes from it for a moment, and saw the hail curtain and worn threadbare, and that the sky was lightening with the promise of the sun.
I looked up again at the crouching white shape. What might appear when that hazy curtain was altogether withdrawn? Seized with a panic fear, I turned frantically to the time machine and strove hard to readjust it. As I did so, the great downpour was swept aside and vanished. Above me, in the intense blue of summer sky, the great buildings about me stood out clear and distinct, shining with the wet of the thunderstorm. I felt as perhaps a bird may feel in the clear air, knowing the hawk wings above and will swoop. My fear grew to frenzy. I took a breathing space, set my teeth, and again grappled furiously with the machine. On hand on the saddle, the other on the lever, I stood panting heavily, ready to mount. But with this recovery of a prompt retreat, my courage recovered. I looked more curiously and less fearfully at this vault of a remote future. In a circular opening, high up in the wall of the nearer house, I saw a group of figures clad in rich, soft robes. They had seen me, and their faces were directed towards me.
Then I heard voices approaching me, coming through the bushes by the white sphinx were the heads and shoulders of men running. One of these emerged in a pathway leading straight to the little lawn upon which I stood with my machine. He was a slight creature, perhaps 4 feet high, clad in a purple tunic girdled at the waist with a leather belt. Sandals were on his feet, his legs were bare to the knees, and his head was bare. Noticing that, I noticed for the first time how warm the air was. He struck me as being a very beautiful and graceful creature, but indescribably frail. His flushed face reminded me of that hectic beauty of which we used to hear so much. At the sight of him, I suddenly regained confidence. I took my hands from the machine.